good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today in the last of our fall webinar series. My name is Jessica DeGraff, and I'm the Director of Retail Accounts here at Proven Winners. And I, along with my colleague Heather Poirier, have the really unique opportunity to work with independent garden centers like yours across North America to help you to not only leverage the Proven Winners brand, but really to work with you and to drive more customers than ever to your garden center as a source for knowledge, for information, and for inspiration. And so the fall webinar series really came about back in 2020 when we realized that you can't always come to our roadshow events, you can't always come to trade shows. And so the idea behind this was to bring outside content experts in to really help you to work on your business rather than in your business each and every day. And so we've had a really great group over the last few years, and I'm really excited about who we have joining us today to sort of round out that fall webinar series. But before we get started, I just wanted to walk through a few housekeeping items, and then we'll turn it over to Ann Obarski, who is our speaker today. So first and foremost, everyone is in listen-only mode. But that said, we absolutely want you to interact with us. And so there's a few ways that you can interact via Zoom. Feel free to click on the chat or the Q&A icon, and those are on the toolbar that you see on the screen. Feel free to enter those questions at any point during the webinar. What we'll be doing is we'll sort of catalog all of those questions. Anne has graciously agreed to walk through as many questions as you have at the tail end of the webinar. And we'll make sure that we answer anything that you may have. We'll also provide you with her information at the end of the webinar as well. So if you'd like to reach out to her directly, you're welcome to do so. One of the big questions we always get from everyone is, are the webinars recorded? Yes, they are. And so with the webinar recording, those will be available, and this specific webinar will be available early next week. You can access all of our webinars, not just from this fall series, but from the past few seasons at the URL or the website that you see on the screen today. So without further ado, I want to turn it over to Ann Obarski from Merchandise Concepts. Ann, are you seeing my screen here? I'm having some issues. Okay, I'm going to stop screen share. I had a few issues there. I'm going to turn it over to Ann Obarski from Merchandise Concepts today. Many of you know Ann. Ann joined us at our fall roadshow in Lancaster, Pennsylvania a few months ago. And Ann is just one of those amazing, energetic speakers that I wish, for those of you that haven't seen her in person, I certainly wish you could see her in person because she really brings down the house. But Ann is really amazing at helping garden centers like yours to look at your whole experience as consumers are coming into the garden center. Not only how do you connect with them, but how do you make that experience contagious and how do you get them to come back? And so she is just a wealth of knowledge. And without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Ann.
Thank you so much, Jessica, and welcome to everyone. Happy holidays. And we're going to get started because I know your time is very important to you. And I have a number of things that I want to share with you today. I want you to take notes. If you want to write questions in the chat, please do that. When I ask you to do that, please do that so that we know that you're out there and that you have really decided to make a difference in your business by taking some of this information away today. The name of today's presentation is I'll Just Get It Online. It's tips to keep your customers on your doorstep. And that's what we all want to do. No matter what, we really don't want people saying, I'll just get it online. We want people showing up to see us. However, I'm going to ask you this question. Did you ever have a time, maybe at this time of the year, think about it, when your kids or family members or someone that you love and were wanting to buy a gift for, you knew what they wanted, but you also knew how hard it was to get it? Now, we're going to go back a ways. We're going to go back in time a little bit prior to the use of the internet. I remember as a parent, I have 2 children, and I remember there were always things that they wanted that I thought to myself, how am I going to do that? Am I going to sit in line? Am I going to stay in the parking lot? How am I going to do that so that I make sure that I get that one particular item that's under the tree that they really want? So I'm going to ask you, and you can put it in the chat, when you were young, what was one toy, one thing that you really, really wanted, and you weren't sure whether you were going to get it because everybody else wanted the same thing, but it was something that you wanted? So put that in the chat. I would love to know. You don't have to put what your age is or what the year was, but most of us can remember that. Well, I shot that question out to both of my children who are grown adults. And the funny thing was, they got back to me in a heartbeat. Both of them did. And they told me the two items that they had remembered. One of them was Tickle Me Elmo. And some of you are rolling your eyes. Don't roll your eyes, because you probably remember this as well, whether it was for you or a younger sibling or whomever. That little guy was the hardest little guy to get. And then my son was very big on the Nintendo 64. To the point where he said, "Don't you remember, Mom, how much I wanted that?" And I was like, no, not so much. But nonetheless, he remembered it, and that was what was important. So at that time, when you could not go online, you were sitting in a parking lot at Toys R Us or a toy store somewhere, and you were waiting till the doors opened so that you could run to that aisle and you could grab that particular item and take it to the service desk or the customer service area and have them ring it up. And you were like, I got it. And you would bring it home and make sure that it was hidden so well. And you were so excited, you couldn't wait to have your kids just really be excited about it. Well, I have also found that through the last couple of years that it doesn't have to be Tickle Me Elmo, and it doesn't have to be Nintendo 64. I have found myself in the last couple of weeks, actually, in a location in which I couldn't find something. And I literally took out my phone and I went on, you know where, and I ordered something that I couldn't find in that vendor or in that store. And I thought to myself, this is a shame. This is really a shame. We shouldn't have to do that. And these are some of the things that I really want you to be aware of when it now comes to e-commerce. You know, when I've been around a long time and been doing these speeches. My business will be 39 years old in March. And I have seen the progression of where we have come from just getting people to come through newspaper ads, through television ads, through conferences and trade shows and so forth. And then with the beginning of e-commerce, and we see that by next year, and they're going to start posting, I'm sure, new statistics for this, but $6.5 trillion will be done on e-commerce starting in January through the whole year of 2023. That's a big one. Most of us have probably purchased things online recently throughout the year. But 75% of people shop online at least once a month. I think we all shop a little bit more than that. And I think that the important part down at the bottom was 63% of shopping journeys start online. You decide you're going to do a remodel. You decide that you're looking for a new college or something for one of your kids. You're looking for something else to buy for yourself. Maybe it's for your office. Maybe it's for the store. But it probably starts online. So why wouldn't you as a business put a lot of energy because of these statistics into your business based online? Years ago, when I would do presentations about trying to get your customer coming to you online, people would go, "Oh, I don't need to do that. Oh, I don't have the money to do that. I don't have the time to do that." Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to say we don't have the time not to do that. Because I'm going to ask you this question: how much time and money do you spend on two things? Customer acquisition and customer retention. You know, as a past retail, I worked for as a buyer for one of the biggest retail department stores in the country, which is now underneath the Macy's name. And I certainly understand how important it is for doing your sales plans. And we're going to talk about that today: inventory plans and merchandising plans, and getting the right people to work for you, and display, and all of those things that come with retail. But there are those two things that are really just incredibly important to anybody's business. Number one, how are you finding more people, more customers? How are you acquiring them? Number one, in that customer acquisition. And number two, how are you retaining them? How are you making sure, not like me, that just said, "You know what? I've been there 3 times, haven't been able to find what I'm looking for, so I'm just going to get it online, and or I'm just going to try somebody else. We have this title. It's called Experience Renaissance. Last year, 2021, Accenture Magazine did an article on Experience Renaissance. And when I've got finished reading the article, I was amazed. And when Jessica introduced me today, she was talking about the fact of being contagious on purpose. That's my tagline. I will tell you that it wasn't always popular in 2020 and 2021. People would say, Anne, you really probably need to use a different title than that. And of course, I would say, no, I don't, because the idea of being contagious to me is that your business is so good that everyone goes out and tells everyone about it. And they tell everybody what you do and why you do it and how you do it, and that I need to experience it. So that word experience renaissance has now changed. And what it is now taking into consideration is we've all known about customer experience. We use it we throw it out there and go, oh, we give 100% good customer service. And I say, liar, liar, pants on fire. No, you don't. We don't always 100% give great experience. But we also know that in the past, businesses have kind of been run by silos. There is the HR department, there's the accounting department, there is the retail department of any big company, and they were in silos. This particular article from Accenture says, no. From now on, everything we do every single day, today at whatever time it is where you are right now, are you delivering in your company an experience renaissance where everybody loves what you do and they tell everybody about it? Here was Gregor Barry's comment that I have quoted: companies striving to lead. Now I'm stopping right there. Are you striving to lead? Are you striving to be better in your area? Well, if you are, you'll need to focus on 2 things: workforce and business strategy. So your workforce that's out there belly to belly with the customer, face to face with the customer, and everything you do as a business strategy, everything that you sit down and say in 2023, this is what we're going to do. That business strategy has to be on one common goal. And what's that one common goal? Operating as a business of experience. Because your customers, me, if I'm your customer, I am rating you. I'm giving you a report card every time I do business with you. So in the short period of time that we have left, I'm going to cover 4 critical areas. I'm going to challenge you. I was a college professor, so I'd kind of like to say I'm going to give you a quiz at the end, but I'm not giving you a quiz. What I am going to ask you is to really look at all 4 of these. As a consultant, I would like to say, what are you currently doing? What do you need to stop doing? And what do you need to start doing? Those are 3 things any good consultant would ask you about. And if each one of these, if we're looking at each one of these 4, when we start talking about it, you might want to start jotting some notes. What are we currently doing in customer service? What should we stop doing in online presence? What do we need to continue doing when it's unique advantage? So I want you to kind of get that feel. That's where we're going to be rolling with for the rest of this afternoon. So I would be remiss if I didn't talk about customer service, because that has been what I have worked my whole life in business on, is really the challenge that everybody has with customer service and why it's so important and how it affects your business. You know, in that same vein with Accenture Magazine, there was another article that I read, which was out of NPR. And this one had this silly word. Now, you have seen it, in many different places. All of a sudden, somebody comes up with a new word. Well, this new word was skimflation. And I thought, what the heck is that? But I looked at skimflation and I read what they talked about. And here was the gist. The gist for skimflation, now stay with me on this one. It was about 2021. So last year, between 2020, 2021, going on into 2022, his comment was, everybody is going to be saying, and mark my word, this is true. Everybody's going to be saying, we don't have enough people. We've had trouble getting merchandise. Shipping has been awful. Therefore, our customers really shouldn't expect very good customer service because, we don't have everything that we used to have in 2019. So things are going to be skimpy. Okay, that's the idea of skimflation. And I thought, you know what? No, that's not true. And if it is true, and I know this, we have all been to places recently where we've seen a sign that said, don't expect fast customer service. We're running on a short staff. There's part of me that would like to say, have you been to Chick-fil-A recently or Costco? I think they probably hired the same kind of people, right? And I've never been to Costco or Chick-fil-A where I've had to wait, and I didn't still have my pleasure. They were still able to find people. So you just have to ratchet it up a little bit. Instead of telling people what you can't do, how about if we tell them what we can do? So when we look at customer service, I want to talk very quickly on this particular, remember, we got 4 to cover. I'm going to cover 3 little areas in this customer service, and they run this gamut. No mistakes, cater to royalty, and go the extra step. Let's take a look at the word mistakes. I'm going to ask you also, really, let's be real. Let's get gut level here. What do you have currently as a business model in your hiring procedures? What are those things that you do that are considered policies and procedures when you are teaching and training your employees about performance? What is expected about them? When do you have reviews for your employees? When you sit down to go over those particular areas, is that once a quarter? Is it once or twice a year? Is it only once a year when they're expecting a quote unquote raise? So when you have an expectation of your performance of your employees, what are you telling them that they need to do? How are they performing? And are you monitoring that? Because those mistakes that can happen, right now, I will tell you, those mistakes come out of communication. If communication isn't good to the employees and they can say these words, oh, I didn't know that. I don't remember that. Did somebody tell me that? I didn't. Did you tell me that? I must have not seen that in an email. Oh, I didn't get that on my phone. All of those excuses for lack of performance comes back to leadership. So if you're looking at yourself as a leader and you want employees to model performance so that it is mistake proof, now I realize that some things can't be mistake proof, but you certainly can work towards it. Look at how your expectations of your employees and their performance are happening. Second, royalty. It's not about sales, it's about relationships. I go back far enough to really believe that our relationships with our customers are what builds business. It's what has always been building business. It's that relationship. Specifically, some people who walk into your garden center, I don't care whether it's weekly, daily, 6 months, a year, you know them. You know their children. Maybe your kids go to school with them. Maybe you've done presentations at their schools. Maybe you've hired some of their family members. This is a relationship. If you have a relationship with somebody, you don't give them second-class customer service. You give them great customer service. You treat them like royalty. And lastly, you go the extra step. I'm just going to ask you, if you have gotten anything from Amazon recently and they comes to the door, they ask you, how do they do? How do they do that? They take a picture with their cell phone, right? And you get a picture of that purchase, and it's usually by your front door, and they say, how did we do? And I always go back and I say, it was done with extra care. And they say, do you want us to share that with our employees? Well, heck yeah, I do, because you went the extra step. You just didn't throw it at the bottom of the stairs. You walked all the way up to the stairs. Maybe you put it on one of my pieces of furniture. Maybe you hid it behind, right now, my snowman. Maybe you just did that extra step. So what are you doing? Can I take something out to your car for you? Can I hold that for you while you're shopping? Can we put this up to the side? Can I do a gift wrap for you? Is this a gift? What can I do that's extra? And training your employees to ask those things takes your customer service up another bar. Where does that all get shown up? I'm going to pop these up for you quickly so that we can take a look at them. These are what people have called soft skills. If you ask most people in any kind of business right now, they will tell you that one of the biggest things that they look for in hiring is soft skills. Those are the things that you should be looking for. Because you know what? I can teach somebody how to water plants. I can teach somebody about air plants. I can teach them about ground cover. I can teach them. Boy, I'll tell you what, having those necessary soft skills, you should be hiring for that. And what are the things that are important? Frankly, I think these four: listening skills. How good are your people at listening? I said on one of the previous slides that one of the things that we see are mistakes. That comes from, I didn't listen. Most of us know we've gotten ourselves into situations we would probably not want to get into when we didn't listen correctly. So listening skills are very important. What goes along with that is engagement. My husband used to be a vice president of loss prevention and security for Macy's. One of the things that his job requirement was for loss prevention. Now, I'm probably going to say to you, none of you that are on this call today probably have any theft issues or any losses, right? No, nobody's ever stolen from you. But if they did, my husband would probably say, one of the things that anyone will tell you that if you would like to cut down on your shrink is the fact that listening skills and visually seeing somebody who's coming into your store and not standing behind the fort would be that of being engaged. He would also tell you the longer you can look at somebody and tell the color of their eyes, you have looked at them long enough that probably you could describe them to authorities that they were a potential thief in your store. So listening skills, being engaged, both go together. But my next two, I think are just equally as important, is being a problem solver. Ladies and gentlemen, when people walk through your door, they didn't come because they have nothing else better to do, unless it's me. Because if I'm coming to your garden center, it's probably because I adore garden centers and I love walking around and I love seeing all the cool things that you have. And sometimes I used to say I would go to a garden center for retail therapy because I would just love to go and wander around. But most people, if they're coming to your location and you are a destination, they had to get in their car, they had to have a reason to come to you. They're coming because they have either a problem or they need something that you have. You are like a doctor. You're a problem solver. Tell me why my caladium that is not doing very well. Tell me what I need to do with my indoor Monstera houseplant. Tell me how much bigger of a pot do I need? What am I doing wrong with this? What kind of lighting? What kind of fertilizer? All of those things. You're a problem solver. You're a problem solver. And I believe in nursery and garden centers, the biggest deal is you will have more repeat customers if your customers can remain successful with what they buy from you. Because in very few other retail stores, is there something that I'm going to buy from you that if I'm really successful, I'll show it to other people. I'll tell other people. People will see it in my yard. People go past my house all the time saying, you've got the most beautiful flowers on the corner. My mother did when I was a kid. And I'm just like my mom. And I want people to stop their cars and go, look at how gorgeous her flowers are. Well, that's a direct reflection of I'm buying from you. You have excellent merchandise, but you've also told me how to be successful. And in that, the last one is being empowered. I believe that it's extremely important that you make a decision that the people that are wearing your uniforms, the people that you are giving a paycheck to, are empowered. What does that mean? That they can make a decision about anything that the customer has to ask, for the most part. they can make a decision, and they can tell that person, instead of saying these evil words, oh, I just have to talk to my boss. They're not here right now. Can I call you later? Time is money. Money is time. And people don't have either to be able to wait until you talk to your boss. So giving your employees the capability of being empowered, answering a question for a customer, and then letting it go. What's the worst they could do? And if it's absolutely awful, it has now become a learning session, and now we learn from it. But you still made that decision. So when we take a look at customer service, I'm going to ask you. I know for a fact that if you said to me, Ann, I get this all, but I don't have enough employees. Well, what can you do with the good employees that you have? Do you have mentor capabilities? If I ask this question, and you might want to put it in the chat, yes or no. Do you have somebody that has worked for you for any length of time that you go, oh my gosh, they are like the best people ever? And if I could clone them, if I could get 6 more of Marsha or 6 more of Jeff, no, I really don't want 6 more of Jeff. If I could get 6 more of Marsha and maybe Bruce, oh my gosh, I wouldn't have to look for anybody else. Say yes in the chat. Do me a favor, just write yes, because I really want to know how many of you actually have that one person. Because if you have that one person has mentor capabilities for you. They have that capability if you let them work with a new person. So you say, hey, listen, I want you, Marsha, I want you to work with Liz. She's a brand new employee. I want you to work with her. I want you to work with her for the whole week. I want you to kind of go through the loops. We've already done training, but I want you to go through the loops. Cross-training is another one. Maybe I've never worked out in the green area outside, or frankly, maybe on the opposite, and I've never worked in your gift shop. I hate retail. I don't want to do that. And you go, but I got somebody that can work with you. So cross-training, so that if you are in the need of having to move people around, I'm trained in everything in the garden center. And ongoing learning. Right now, you are sitting listening to me. God bless you. And Jessica just told you, you have a myriad of ongoing learning from proven winners. One of the things that new, young, millennials, Gen Zs love to be able to do is to learn, and for you to give me the option to do that so that I can be better at my job. That's what they want to do. And you taking back some of this information is just critical. All right. For when we're still talking about customer service, strengthen the important on conversation and communication. Conversation. Start some huddles if you can. 3 minutes every single morning. Start a huddle with the people who work for you. Just talk about 3, maybe one small thing that you want them to be doing tomorrow. It's right before the holidays. Everybody's coming in. They're looking for pine roping. They're looking for trees. They're looking for poinsettias. They're looking for a pot. They're looking for anything. Start with the importance of the conversation, eye contact, realize that you're a problem solver, and that communication is critical for keeping customers coming back. I always talk about the fact of top of mind leads to tip of tongue. If you were in my audience today, I would go like this. Okay, put your hands on your head. Most of you are not doing this. I will do it and you can laugh. Okay, so I'm just putting my hands on the top of my head, but I'm telling you that the top of mind leads to tip of tongue. If somebody asks me, hey, I've got to go to a garden center. Who should I go to? Boom. Your name should come up top of mind so that I tell other people, don't go anywhere else. This is where you need to go. They will take care of all of your needs. Are you doing that today? Are you becoming top of mind, leading to tip of tongue? So that's the first one. Let's go on to inventory control. Inventory right now in some of your garden centers, some of it's high, some of it's low. You're watching it dwindle in certain areas. You're figuring out how much needs to be purchased. And I'm going to break this one down into 2 areas because it's really going to go into our online title that we talked about. One is brick and mortar, and the second is online and digital. If you'll notice there on those 2 pictures, I apologize, the one on the right, I took that off of my cell phone and didn't do a really great job, but That picture actually came from one of my nursery and garden centers that I shop at here. And for those of you who don't know, I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. And so I'll go there. And then the one in the center, I was out doing work with garden centers and took a picture somewhere Midwest and just took a picture because I loved it. I just thought it was so pretty. So we're going to talk about what you do as far as your brick and mortar physical location and what do you do as far as online is concerned. I want you to think about people when they drive into your place of business. I'm in my car. I pull into your parking lot. I have just pulled into your parking lot. There should be a trigger of emotions that happen when I pull into the parking lot. Was there a sign out front? What is your parking lot look like? Is it clean and neat? Are there places for me to park if I'm coming there in the evening? Is there lighting? Does it draw me in? Can I just go, oh, I can't wait to turn my car off because I got to get in there. You see, that's that emotional experience, that experience renaissance of triggering our emotions as we come into a store. Now, there's lots of pictures currently here on your screen, lots of pictures to look at. The one up at the very top left, I didn't take that picture. A friend of mine was in Europe recently and took that picture. Those are all strawberries and asparagus. And I looked at that and I said, you talk about triggering my senses, my sense of smell, my sense of sight. When I walk into that particular farmer's market, oh my gosh, whether or not I wanted to have strawberries, that picture is going to make me feel like I need to. The one next to it is from a garden center here in Charleston. And this was a couple of years ago, but I was just amazed at the small display that I'm sure if you've DIY capable could make, and how it can be changed throughout. It could be changed weekly, it could be changed monthly, it could be changed seasonally, but it just was really, really striking to me with that deep blue and white and with the green plants. I thought it was beautiful. The one below actually was from a garden center in Ohio when I lived in Ohio. And I took this picture because it's very good as far as senses. And again, we're talking about inventory. There may only be 2 items behind each one of those items that's on that shelving unit, but it looks like you're in business. Nowhere along there does it look like to me that I'm going to go over to the fertilizer that's there, whether it's Roberts or whatever, and not find what I'm looking for. Because when there are holes, when your inventory is not filled in, people make a couple of assumptions. Either you're going out of business, or you don't care, or I'm going to have to go somewhere else. Now, the ones to the right, that one big picture to the right, just beautiful. Again, it's the senses. I haven't even walked into your place of business yet, but I'm already saying, this is exciting. I want to do business with you because it's beautiful. I have say this quote, please write it anywhere, tattoo it on your arm. Every product costs money to stock it. Make sure it has earned the right to be there. Focus on the return on space. If you're jotting down notes, make this note that you want to go back and take a look at your entire property. You want to take a look at how much property do I have, internal, external, and how am I marketing and merchandising all of it? Do I make it look exciting? Do I make it look like every piece of every area has a return on space? Or do I have one of those great big service desks that there's McDonald's wrappers and a Coke and other things, and it's a waste of space because right now that's an area that could have potential turn for me, and it could also turn merchandise and make me money. So when we talk about inventory control, I want you to think about timing. So it's December. What's coming in now for next month? What's coming in tomorrow? What's coming in 2 weeks? What do you have coming in early spring when it's ugly outside, maybe in parts of this country, when people don't want to come in? And I'm going to talk about that in another couple of slides. I want to give you an idea that there are the people out there that are already planning on that, even when it's crappy and cold. What's the performance you're looking for on your inventory control, and how are you updating all of that? And I probably should ask you, if you run a POS register, let me ask you a question. Do you know everything that POS register system can do? Do you know all the reports it can spit out? Do you know how to read all of them to such a way that you can really start statistically looking what's performing, what's not performing, what's giving me the best gross margin, the best turnover? Well, who are those vendors that I probably should look to divorce? And maybe there are some new ones that I need to start looking at using. Now I'm also going to talk about when you confuse, you lose, depending on the size of your garden center. Sometimes when we have too much, people walk in and they go, I don't even know what to look for. I'm just so totally confused. I need somebody's help. And that can also happen digitally. So we have to look at our online presence, and I have to ask you, what does your online presence look like? I went to your website right now. Would I find things that I could buy from you that would be that I could order and I could get, just like if I was going to the big A, I could figure out, oh yes, this is something that I need. Yes, I can buy this. Yes, I can get this. And are all those things that I expect by experience from the big A. They also have the truck that has the little smiley kind of thing with you know what I'm talking about. So I want you to think about that, because there needs to be a connection. When we have online and we have brick and mortar, there needs to be a connection between the two. I need to look at it and go, oh my gosh, looks just like their website, updated, fresh. It gets my senses going. I want to scroll. I want to go find out other things. When I walk through your doors and it's brick and mortar, I get to see all those things. When I look online, because I can't get there all the time, I want that same feeling to happen. Here's what we know. 46% of online shoppers feel overwhelmed with the number of options. Have you ever felt like that? I have, where you've gone to look for something and you go, I just am not sure. And then I do the horrible thing that probably all of us do. I look for the reviews. Do you not think that that's an experience renaissance? Here's the funny thing. How many of us have not purchased something from a company because we read a review from a person we don't know? Have we done that? Yes, we could type that in the chat too. Everybody would say that, because we've all looked at that and we go, I don't know that person, but that person didn't like that company, that product. They didn't like how it operated. And maybe we had 10 that were above it that were really good. And that particular person said, no, I didn't like it. And we went, nope, we're not buying it. So we know that online shoppers can be overwhelmed. Excuse me. The next one, 63% abandon their cart due to extra costs for shipping. And I know that people have said, that's an issue. I don't know how I'm going to continue shopping, and I don't know how I'm going to continue offering things, and also have to either pay for shipping kind of and not let the customer know and say, oh, shipping's free. Because we know nothing's free. You're somehow building it into that cost so they don't know. But also, how am I going to package the merchandise? How am I going to get it to where it needs to go? How am I going to pay for all of those things? So that extra cost for shipping is important. So when we look at your online presence right now, think about it. If I was to go to your website, what would I find there? What is the stock? How many different things do you have there? Well, Anne, I only have a few. Well, and that's fine. Because if you only have a few and you're able to get that merchandise out to the customer and at a timely way and connect with them and let them know, it'll be delivered tomorrow, so that the experience is really good, that's fine. But think about the stock, think about the shipping and delivery, and think about the customer connection. Think about the big A, because that's what they do. They do it so much that they will tell you, oh, by the way, your package is 8 doors down. I start going outside looking. I'm like, is he 8 doors down? Now, I know that most of us can't do that. But again, that customer connection, they would like to know when that merchandise is coming in. I'm going to use this word with you right now. I'm going to use that word, influencer. I'm going to ask you to type something in the chat for me because I want to see it. And I'm going to ask you this question. I know that we have people probably across the world, but I know that we've got a boatload that are in the United States. So I don't really care if you're here or if you're out of the country. Thank you for joining us. Let me ask you a question. If I was at your house right now, I was at your house and it was time for dinner, and I said, hey, I'll pay but let's go to dinner where you would go to celebrate a birthday or an anniversary special occasion. Okay, you got it? Where would, you don't have to write, you don't have to tell me right now. Where would you take me? I want you to go into the chat right now. If you can go into the chat so we can see it. And I want you to write down the name of the restaurant. You don't have to give me a city. You don't have to give me anything else. Give me the name of the restaurant. Can you do that for me? Write it in the chat. Now, right there, you've been an influencer because I know nothing about that restaurant, but I know you know about it. And my guess is going to be, remember we talked about when you go into your garden center, you have those senses going on. It's the smell, it's taste, it's touch, it's hearing, it's all of that. Well, that influences us to give a good review and we like it, right? And so you're probably saying, oh, Ann, you're going to love it. You're going to love the ambiance. You're going to love the service. You're going to love the food. You're going to love Paul because he is the owner and he always comes to greet everybody. You're just going to love it. So if you put that name in the chat, then you have become an influencer. And most of us on this call, on this webinar, probably if you've been on Facebook or if you've been on Instagram, and I'm hoping that you post on both of those as an online presence, you probably have followed influencers. You have probably followed people with a new thing that is going on, which is selling live online. So you go live on Facebook, you go live on Instagram, and all of a sudden you are live in front of people and it's your following and you are telling them about particular items that you have for sale. And you may go so much as further. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I'm just going to hold that thought for just a second, because I do want to talk about why influencers are important. Believe it or not, and I believe this is just going to go through the roof, but this was the newest statistics I could get. Influencer marketing equals $13.8 billion. That means that there are people out there that get paid to be influencers. They get paid to influence people. It's kind of like PR. They get paid to influence people to buy your products. You can look for influencers in the area of garden centers and see if you could hire them, even if it's only, doing a couple things a month for you. You could hire them to actually post and write and be live showing about you in garden center. I think that kind of sounds fun. That might be a 2023 goal. Maybe you want to write that down. 67% of brands use Instagram for influencer marketing. Instagram users post 95 million photos and videos a day. That's scary. So you're kind of an influencer if you are posting on Instagram. You have people who do it for you, or you do it yourself, or you've got employees. And last, 84% of influencers are women. I will let you know that 85% of all business decisions are made by women. Whether or not you are buying a car, insurance, whether you're buying a home, it is influenced by women. You don't believe me? When we get off this call, Google it, and that number will be there. So we know that 72% of Instagram users make purchase decisions based on Instagram content. So if people are on Instagram, and I'm hoping you're on Instagram, if you're on Instagram, you may be making a decision because you went, I just saw that on there. Oh my gosh, those are those Boombas or whatever they are, socks, and they are such and such jewelry and such wine and such handbags and such plant. I'm making a decision. 72% of Instagram users make that decision based on Instagram content. Now, why is that important? Because that dovetails into who probably your biggest customer grouping is, maybe, or if it's not the number one, it's probably number two. Millennials are currently the largest generation in the workplace, but I will tell you, this is the first time in our lives, we've got 5 different generations in the workforce. So you may have people who are 16 years old and you may have somebody who's 82. So you run that gamut, but we know that millennials right now are the largest generation in the workplace, being the ages of 20 to 40. They also have the huge buying power. They're more likely to spend money online, and 91% say that they trust online reviews. So how are you going to add a little bit more money into your pocket this year and next year on online purchases? There is a way to do it. And now more than ever is what you are seeing here. It can be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, email, of getting your customers to know exactly what cool merchandise you currently have. These are some pictures of merchandise from, again, my local garden centers, because I went in, I took these off of their Pinterest pages so that you can see some of these pictures of items that are there. By seeing these pictures, I want to come in. I want to come in and take a look at the Julie Voss trunk show. I want to come in and take a look at those mums. Now, granted, that was a little while ago. Our mums in the South still do pretty good at this time of year. So these are ways that are online, just pictures, just nothing live here that is causing me to want to come back into your store. So what are you currently doing online, digitally, and doing it on a consistent basis where you may be consistently posting every single day or 2 to 3 times a week? You have people that's their job, is to post. What are you doing so that not only with your brick and mortar, but online, I now have a reason to either get on my phone and find you or get in my car and get to your location. But that inventory control that you are doing, both brick and mortar as well as both online, that keeps you, again, I'm going to have you hit the top of your head. Top of mind leads to tip of tongue. You have great inventory. I love your inventory. You always have the newest and greatest things, and that's what helps me talk to other people about you. So number 3 is unique advantage. And when we look at the unique advantage, what do you do that's different? What do you do that's unusual? What is it that you do that sets you apart from everybody else? You know, years ago, I had written an article called Women at the Grill, and I was at a trade show that was supporting all sorts of outdoor grills. Now, when I walked into the trade show, you can imagine what I saw. It was a sea of black grills. I mean, just every kind of black grill known to man. And there were a few green eggs in the mix. But for the most part, when I looked around, I thought, okay, this is not that big of a deal. And I personally don't like to grill because I'm afraid of gas. So I don't like turning it on. I always lived up north, and in the wintertime, when you kind of covered your grill, there was a real good chance that wasps and other things would get into the pipes and everything. And that was where they would kind of build their homes. And in the spring, you would go and try to light it. And well, it was never a pretty story. And I don't have much eyebrows anyway, and I didn't need those kind of like burn off my face. And so I hate doing lighting a grill. I like to buy the food for it, and I like to eat everything off of it. But in essence, I was not enamored with anything that was sitting in this trade show until I saw her. There she was at the back end of the trade show. And I saw her back there, and I went, I've got to go see what that is. I just can't believe it. And there she was sitting in the back. And I know, isn't she so cute? She's a pink pig. And she is made by the Traeger Grill Association. And they are out of Portland, Oregon, been there for a long time. And she's electric. I don't have to worry about gas. And the gentleman came out from behind the grill wearing a butcher's coat and said, I see you looking at my pink pig grill. And I said, I know, I flew Southwest here, but I'm not so sure I can take her home on it. She's a little pricey. She was like $1,400, but look at her nose. Her nose tells me she's electric. You can put in all sorts of pellets in her. And he spent a lot of time telling me, woman, 85% women business decisions. You remember me saying that? Well, he was telling me everything that I could do with that pink pig grill. And I said, okay, tell me more. Now, I don't own one yet, But there will come a day when those eyelashes are sitting on my back patio. But I said to him, can you please tell me? I said, who buys this? I mean, look around. Everybody else is buying all the other black ones. And he said, you know who buys it? At the time I was working with pool companies. He goes, it's that pool store down the street. He goes, they'll pull her out on Wednesday or Saturday or Sunday and fire her up, and they'll have free brats and hamburgers and hot dogs. And everybody who's driving past goes, what's that smell? Again, remember, senses. All right. What's that smell? Oh, that's that guy down the street. The guy that's got the pool store. He's got that, that Pink Pig grill. Now that becomes unique. What's your pink pig? I do a session on this where we talk about this totally. And I want to drill down and ask you, what is the one thing that you do different than anybody else that becomes your pink pig? Put it in the chat. Write it in the chat. This is what I do. Don't tell me it's customer service. Tell me that it is something unusual, something different that nobody else does. I saw this when I thought this was really cool. The Personal Garden Coach, they had their SUV. I'm going to call it skinned with the name, the Personal Garden Coach. I looked at this one, Rogers Garden Center out in California to the left. Everything that they do is so high class, so above. I mean, it's just over the top, beautiful. That's kind of what they're known for. I mean, it's just beautiful. That's their wedding flower area, so you can sit down and order your flowers. On the right-hand side, I'm not sure where I took this, but I just said, oh gosh, look, they do other things to bring your eye up. They did the hammock. They made it look interesting so that when I came in, I thought, gosh, I could sit down there at that little bistro set and have myself a latte and just enjoy how beautiful it feels here in the greenhouse. Merchandising and displays have a way of doing that for you. Your outside has a way of doing that for you. Maybe it's an old farm area that you have. I have a favorite one in Missouri outside of St. Louis. It's called Oma's Barn. It's one on the left-hand side. Unfortunately, about 3 or 4 months ago, they had a horrible flooded everything. I thought she was going out of business. Like any good garden center and gift shop, they took everything down on the inside, all the old wood, put it all back together. They're back in business. And it still has the quaintness that if I go there, I go, oh my gosh, look at all this stuff I get to look at before I go through that door. On the right-hand side, the beauty of orchids, just the beauty of display and merchandising that makes me say that, and actually this is one of my garden centers where I went and bought an orchid for my best friend, because where else would I buy it? From a place that has really good quality orchids. Moving along, I was just in Ohio speaking at a garden center group, and I'd never seen this group before. I'm born and raised in Ohio. I have no idea how to get to this place. I thought I knew every place in Ohio, but it's called the Groovy Plants Ranch. I don't have time to take you to their website right now. Write their name down, go take a look at it, watch the video that's on there. It is a young millennials in their 20s that bought the cutest ranch, has a schoolhouse on it. They have things on the property like a plane and an old VW bug, and they have things that kids can play with. And do you remember when I said to you, what do you do that you can bring people back in January? Well, it gets really cold in Ohio. It gets cold and snowy. And in Ohio, they said they are propagators. They are horticulturists. They will propagate new plants that nobody else has. And they had thrown out on Instagram that they were going to have some brand new plants, gave the name of them. This was last January. And they said, we're going to have them on Monday. It was like 17 degrees that Monday, snowy as all get out. And this is out in the middle of nowhere. And their parking lot was filled because people were there because they wanted something that was new and unusual and different. And frankly, if you know what the name Groovy is, you're as old as I am. So as a whole, what are you doing to bring me back? What are you doing in 2023 all the way through, whether it's customer service, whether it's inventory control, whether it's online purchases, whether it's uniqueness? What are you currently doing to bring me back? Because that's what we want to do. Remember on one of the second slides I gave you, it was customer acquisition, customer retention. You need to get me TikTok, email, Instagram, Facebook, online, everything you can do at a great level. And don't let everything else fall, because your website has to be just as good, because that was one of the very first things you did online. And second of all, you need to have all of those great people working for you. Now, let me just go back for a second, because I blurred their faces. I'm going to guess if you work really, really, really hard and 2023 is going to be your best year, you're going to put time, money, and effort into those faces that are blurred. You're going to help them to be communicate better. You're going to help them to be empowered. You're going to help them to be engaged. You're going to put the emphasis on engagement and experience, and how every single thing they do in conjunction with everything that you sell is an experience. It's that experience that makes people say, I can't afford not to get in the car and drive to their garden center. I am not going to buy it online, although I could. I could get some things from them online if I can't get out, but I'd really like to see them on purpose. So the 4 things that we talked about were customer service. So in 2023, what are you going to work on? Pick one of these and put it in the chat and tell me what's one of those bubbles that you want to work on in 2023. The other ones might be doing okay, but there's one area that you know that is going to drive your business, that is going to help your business in 2023. And you're going to make it a strategic, pointed job that you're going to do in 2023. Is it going to be customer service? Is it going to be inventory control? You're going to take a little bit more look at the inventory, learn specifically how to run your POS register system like clockwork, so that everything you know on it is running perfect. Is it your online presence? Frankly, I think I'm raising my hand on that one. I don't do enough. Shame on me. And I didn't even talk about LinkedIn. That's business to business. You know, we all should be on there as well and posting. So I think online presence might get it in there. So if I was posting in the chat, online presence is mine. And unique advantage. What is your unique advantage? Sit down, have a little discussion with the people who work for you and ask them, hey, what do you think are unique advantages? What is it that somebody would tell somebody else about, like the restaurant thing? What would you tell people as an influencer that makes my business so different than anybody else's? What's that unique advantage? And or what should it be? What should it be? Because that top of mind leads to tip of tongue. And that's what we need our customers to do. So I love this quote that every customer is like a small miracle. Out of all the things that they could be doing that day, out of all the places they could be, out of all the companies they could buy for, they're getting in their car, they're getting behind the wheel, they're driving to your garden center, and they're buying from you. It has been my pleasure. My name is Ann Obarski. Name of my company is Merchandise Concepts. I apologize. You can't find me on TikTok. You can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. And I'm a work in progress, even at 39 years in business. And I would love to answer any question that you may have.
Well, thank you, Ann, so much for your time today and for all of the information that you shared. I think it was really great, and sort of I was jotting notes, even on a personal level. What are some things that we can be doing to get better? But you were talking about unique advantage, and so one of the questions you talked about, obviously, we should know, and as garden centers, they know what their unique advantage is. What do you think about surveying customers, right? Because what do they perceive your unique advantage to be, and how could you maybe capitalize on that? What are your thoughts there?
Oh, I think it's an excellent idea. What is it that you think about our company every time you think about it? And they may say, I'm thinking actually of a garden center on the East Coast, and I am pretty sure that they're on a major highway, and that at this time of the year, they'll get thousands upon thousands of people who will stop and they always have their pictures, family pictures taken around their trees and everything else. And they may go, oh, well, but we do 200 different events a year. I mean, we didn't really even think about that, but maybe that's their unique advantage. I think about another one. We were talking about that their farm is their unique advantage, but they might not think that their farm is the advantage. Their big, their farm building, if you will, barn. So I think by asking your employees drills it down, because if in fact you think it's one thing and they think it's another, then if it's come up a couple of times, then the thing to do is now say, all right, our customers are telling us that this is more what it is. It's our employees. So now maybe I always say, what's your return on the investment? If your return on the investment for all the, an outside thing, you're spending all that money and the customer doesn't think that that's important, or that's not making them be an influencer for you, then you need to think about where we're going to move the money over here and we're going to transfer it. And we are really going to work on our employees, because they are what our customers think is our unique advantage.
That's great. And I know we've approached the 3:00 hour, and I know many of you have other things to do, but I really want to highly encourage you. Anne has done an amazing job. I believe this is the third webinar you've done with us, Anne. And so she's done webinars on merchandising. She's done webinars on customer service. And so if you weren't able to join last year for those webinars, I highly encourage you to do that. We have all of the recordings, on our website. And Anne, I just wanted to sincerely thank you. I think you really helped us to round out the fall webinar series, and I'm excited. I hope everyone on the call is excited about spring 23. I think we all have huge opportunities moving forward. And with that, I just want to sincerely thank you all for your time. I want to thank you for your business and wish you all just a wonderful holiday season. We'll catch back up with you after the first of the year on the spring webinar series, and we'll be sending more information out shortly. Thank you so much.